Good evening, members of the Council, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. Thank you. Before we start this evening's meeting, members will have been saddened to hear of the passing of Councillor Jackie Alty's husband, Kevin, and I would like to pass on my condolences and the condolences of the Council and well wishes to Councillor Alty and her family. Will you please now join me in a moment of reflection with my chaplain, Father Paul Robinson.
Good evening. For many in our communities, this is an important time of year. For Christians, like myself and lots of us in here, we are in the season of Lent. And for our Muslim brothers and sisters, it's Ramadan. And these aren't abstract religious ideas. They are lived out daily realities for many people in our communities. For Christians, Lent is a time to slow down, to take stock, perhaps to give something up, pray a bit more, and try to live more deliberately in that run-up to Easter. For Muslims, Ramadan means fasting from dawn to sunset, gathering with family in the evenings, giving generously to those in need, and refocusing on faith and self-discipline. In very practical terms, that affects how people live their everyday lives. Some are tired because they're fasting. Some are attending extra services. Many are giving more to charity or volunteering more locally. Families structure their days differently. Schools, workplaces, and community groups feel that shift. For the rest of us, the response doesn't need to be complicated. It starts with awareness, knowing that a public meeting, maybe something like this, scheduled at sunset during Ramadan, may clash with the iftar meal. Recognising that community events during Lent may carry a quieter, more reflective tone for some. And the small adjustments we make show our respect. It might also mean being present, maybe attending a mosque open iftar, visiting a church that is hosting a Lent lunch or running a food bank, maybe giving a message of support that acknowledges both Lent and Ramadan. These are simple acts, but they communicate that faith communities that are in all our communities are seen and valued. And then there's the bigger picture. Both Lent and Ramadan put generosity and care for the vulnerable front and centre. And we can lean into that, partnering with faith groups on food poverty, homelessness and social isolation. These communities are often already doing the work, and perhaps we can offer more of our support. At heart, both seasons, Lent for Christians and Ramadan for Muslims, are about humility, self-control and care for others. And those are good instincts for those of us in public life too. Leadership grounded in patience, listening and service fits naturally alongside what many of our residents are trying to practice during these weeks. So with that in mind, I invite us to pray. Lord God, in this season of Lent and in the month of Ramadan, draw our communities closer to you and closer to one another. Teach us humility in leadership, generosity in service, and compassion for those most in need. Bless all who fast, all who pray, and all who seek to serve the common good. Amen.
Thank you.
No worries. Have a lovely meeting, folks. I'm going back to the buffet.
Thank you. I'll now start with some domestic arrangements for the meeting. Due to regulations surrounding voting, only those members physically present are able to vote. Mobile devices, please ensure that all electronic equipment is either on silent mode or switched off. There are no planned fire alarms, so if it does sound, please leave via the emergency exits. And this meeting is being live streamed during open session for members of the public to watch. If you'd like to speak, please press your microphone to let me know, and when I invite you to speak, your microphone will turn red. When we come to a vote, a screen will appear on your microphone, and you only need to touch the option you wish to select. Please do not obstruct your mouth to ensure that anyone lip reading can do so. And if anyone is having issues, please, as always, let Democratic Services or ICT know, and I'm sure they will be more than happy to help and accommodate. Some points on procedure for members. Section 21.8 of the Constitution permits filming or recording of any meeting of the Council, subject to the filming being done openly, and that the Chair has been notified at the commencement of the meeting. If any member is filming or recording this meeting, please can you make this known now? Thank you. Members asking a question have a maximum of 3 minutes to speak and may ask one supplementary question directly related to the original question for no more than 1 minute. A member who has spoken once on a motion may not speak again whilst it is being debated except in specific circumstances, and individual members of the public will be restricted to speaking for a total of 5 minutes during the whole meeting if they've submitted their question prior to tonight. When we're using the voting system, please remember to vote using the touchscreen of your microphone, not the request to speak the button. Members are asked to remain seated for the duration of the meeting where possible, and if you do need to leave, please do so quietly and through the far door. Please can I finally also remind members of the Nolan principles appended to the agenda front sheet and ask that we all treat each other with respect and courtesy during the meeting. If I move to agenda item number 1, apologies for absence. Are there any apologies?
Yes, Mr Mayor. Apologies are being received from Councillor George Rea, Councillor Jackie Alty, and Councillor Mary Green and Councillor Jane Bell are joining us on Teams.
Thank you. Item number 2, declarations of interest. Members are reminded.
Mr Mayor.
Apologies.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Councillor Jackson is also not here today. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Lou Jackson. Thank you. Item number 2, declarations of interest. Members are reminded of their responsibility to declare any pecuniary interest in respect of matters contained in this agenda. Members were also advised regarding declarations of interest in relation to budget setting by email dated the 3rd of March 2026 from the Interim Monitoring Officer. Are there any declarations of interest? No? Thank you. Moving forward to item number 3, minutes of the council meeting from Wednesday the 19th of November 2025. This item is for decision. Before I ask the leader to propose this item, there has been an amendment to the minutes. Under item 83, Audit and Governance Committee, a line will be added to state that councillors Mrs Smith and Howarth contributed to the discussion on the report. Can I please ask that the Leader of the Council, Councillor Matthew Tomlinson, to propose that the minutes be approved?
Thank you, Mayor. And with the addition of the amendment you've just made Council aware of, I'm happy to propose that.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. Are there any questions on points of accuracy? Councillor.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would like to also make an amendment, please, to the minutes of the meeting, if I may.
Of course, please.
I would like adding to the minute, members express their concern regarding the number and significance of the services that received a limited or minimal audit assurance presented to the Audit and Governance Committee on the 20th of January, sorry, beg your pardon.
Thank you. Is that amendment seconded?
Yes, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Are there any other amendments to the minutes? Councillor Tomlinson, can I ask, are you happy to accept that amendment?
I'm afraid I'm not, Mr Mayor. There's a house style to our minutes, and it, you know, where it's a factual record of what was said. It's not verbatim, and if you look at the other style, the house style of minutes doesn't really allow that kind of amendment. So my group will be voting against the proposed amendment.
Thank you. Councillor David Howarth.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I would support the amendment. I mean, I accept that, you know, that this isn't Hansard and the minutes aren't a verbatim record, but when something of such serious concern is raised in a report to council and members express their concerns about it, I don't think it's unreasonable for a short note to actually state what the members commented on and why they commented. Originally, there wasn't any record at all of myself or Councillor Smith even speaking in the original minutes. and it's only because there's been a challenge earlier today that any amendment at all has come forward. So I really do think that given the seriousness of the comments that were made, there should be a record of them.
Thank you. Councillor Phil Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This would appear another way of burying the truth of meetings at this council. It's not the first time this has happened. I guess it's not going to be the last. There's so much work put into that governance meeting, a lot of work, seriously lot of work, hours and hours and hours of members, and we took it really seriously. And when we had that discussion at the governance meeting, it was a serious meeting. There's no personalities involved, there was no anything like that. It was just a proper meeting of governance. And I'm absolutely appalled that this amendment, a minimum amendment, is not going to be supported by the Labour group. It's absolutely appalling. It doesn't really say anything, it doesn't get at anybody. What it's actually doing is just putting information out there, which has been totally buried. It would have been buried the first time if we hadn't spoke at the last meeting, and they're trying again to just bury that information. The people of this borough should know about it. Thank you. And I will be supporting the amendment, of course.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts.
Mr Mayor, I'm appalled we're wasting time when we've got such important things to discuss this evening. The Governance Committee do a great job under Councillor Watkinson and the other members. The balance in terms of the minutes is not there because it doesn't mention anything about the management action plans and the work that's being done to rectify it and the great work our officers do. So the leader's proposed he rejects the amendment. I'm happy to second that and I'd like to vote on it, please.
Councillor Smith, because you raised the amendment, Councillor Green wants to speak, so I'll bring you in at the end of the debate. Is that okay, as the mover of the motion? Thank you. Councillor Green.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I had no intention at all of speaking on this, but it's a point that Councillor Roberts has just made, and he, if I picked it up correctly, he said this is wasting time.
Not important.
And it's not important. This is not anything to do with wasting time. This is of fundamental importance to this council. It's a small amendment which has been suggested. I'm not somebody who's in favour of minutes being verbatim. They shouldn't be. They've got to reflect the general meeting. But on this occasion, there's a specific reference that should be in there, as Councillor Howarth actually said himself. And I think as councillors, sometimes we've got to rise above this. And I would encourage all members to vote. When you're going to vote in a minute, vote on the basis of transparency. Transparency to the people that actually send us here, that elect us to represent them. Now, this is not a council chamber meeting in Russia, or dare I say Iran with what's going on at the moment in the news. This is South Ribble, and we are better than this, and we deserve some transparency. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to bring Councillor Margaret Smith in to finalise, and then we'll move to the vote on the amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. The reason I put this amendment to it, I thought myself of the gravity of what was going on at that meeting, of the governance meeting and the gravity that we took it forward at the council meeting. We felt so strongly about the way the notes of the governance meeting had been put forward. There was there was one reference to one of the 4 meeting reports that were either minimal or limited. Just one little note in them. That's why we brought it up at the council meeting, because we felt the gravity of it was so important to this council, because with the best will in the world, and I'm not being rude when I say, but I'm sure the majority of this council hadn't read those reports because they were substantial. I've actually brought them with me this evening, pages and pages of them. They are substantial reports. And I know we're all busy people, and we don't always get the time to read all of the minutes or the agendas. So that's why it was brought up. And that's why I felt, my group felt, on balance, that there should be at least a note to these minutes that were recorded for the council meeting. I do feel, though, that we understand what Councillor Tomlinson's saying. these minutes these days are not verbatim. We know that, we understand that. But I did feel that, on balance, that note of the meeting didn't reflect the feeling that we all felt that night, that we actually should just have some real comment that would actually put a little bit of emphasis onto what had gone on that night. And that was my sole intention, and I think it's only a couple of lines. Really, come on. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, we'll move to the vote on the amendment. Just for clarity, I shall read it out again and then everybody knows what they're voting for. So we are voting for amendments to the minutes of the meeting of Council on the 28th of January 2026. Two amendments. One is that Councillors Mrs Smith and Howarth contributed to the discussion on the report under item 83, Audit and Governance Committee. And the second is an amendment that members expressed their concerns regarding the number and significance of the services that received a limited or minimal audit assurance presented at the Audit and Governance meeting. We shall move to the vote. Apologies.
Just on clarification, I thought I'd accepted the original amendment.
You have. Apologies.
So I don't think we need to vote
No.
on it.
Well, yeah. You're happy with that. It's just the second one I read. Thank you. And we'll move to the vote. Thank you. Okay, thank you. That vote has lost. We shall now move to the substantive vote, and that is the vote on the minutes of the Council from Wednesday, the 28th of January, with the amendment which has already been accepted, which is that Councillors Mrs Smith and Howarth contributed to the discussion on the report. We'll now move to the vote. Thank you. Thank you. That has passed. Moving forward to item number 4, Mayor's announcements. It's been a very full and rewarding few weeks across our borough, and I want to share some of the key moments with members. I was really pleased to officially open the new outdoor facility at St Andrew's Church of England Infant School. The enthusiasm from the children and the pride from the staff made it very clear how much this space will mean to the school community. And thank you, Councillor Campbell, for your good lady for showing me around and supporting me on the day. I also spent some time at Fountain Primary School speaking with pupils about the role of local government, their responsibilities that come with it, and some of the environmental issues affecting our area. The questions were very sharp, thoughtful and very honest, and it was really very much of a reminder that young people are really paying quite close attention to the world around them, and I'm sure there's many future councillors in that school and across many other schools across our borough. The North West Boys Brigade King's Badge Award was another highlight. I was asked to present the awards for the North West, everything from Cumbria, Merseyside, Cheshire, Lancashire and Greater Manchester, and it really was a real honour and privilege to meet the young people who've already shown such commitment and leadership to our communities. Alongside these, I've attended a wide range of other community events, large and small, across the borough, and each one has really shown the spirit of our residents. And I'm also grateful to the Deputy Mayor as well for attending many on my behalf as well. Thank you. A particular memorable moment was attending a special event at Samlesbury Hall, where I had the honour of meeting His Majesty the King, and we spoke briefly. I had a few minutes with him about the heritage of our area, the pride people take in our communities here in South Ribble, and it really was a privilege to represent South Ribble at such an occasion. It's something I'll certainly remember for a long time. I also attended the service at Blackburn Cathedral, marking the 35th anniversary of the liberation of Kuwait, and it really was a dignified and reflective event, bringing together civic leaders, veterans and community representatives to honour an important moment in recent history. Looking ahead, preparations are very much under the way for a Freedom of Parade in Leyland this April, and that will really be a significant moment for the borough, and more details will follow soon, but it promises to be a very special occasion for our community. I also have some exciting charity events coming up. Charity Curry Night is approaching, and in April we're hosting a candlelight string quartet at Worden Hall, themed around powerful female voices, which I think with International Women's Day this weekend, it feels especially fitting to celebrate the women who shape our communities and contribute so much to public life. I hope many of you are able to join us at these events as we continue to support local charities and bring our communities together. Thank you. Moving forward to item number 5, public questions. Members of the public must give written notice of any question to the Chief Executive at least one clear day before the date of the meeting. Members of the public will have 3 minutes to put their questions to the relevant councillor and will be allowed to ask one short related supplementary question. We've received one question. Can I invite Mr. Derek Forrest to ask his question? He's asking this in the capacity as a resident, not as an alderman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The question is whether the leader has found time to watch. It isn't it? I think it's got. I'm forgetting the name of it now. It's a dirty business, which was I think still is available streamed on Channel 4.
Thank you, Councillor Tomlinson, regarding your television.
Thank you, Mayor. I do try to say to people, if you can restrict questions to the running of this council, I would be really grateful. Otherwise, we can stray into all sorts of very odd places. But for the purposes of brevity, my answer is yes.
Thank you, Mr. Forrest. Does that answer your question? I'm assuming you have a supplementary.
Yes, it does. I have a supplemental, though. And first of all, I'm very grateful that the leader has managed to find time to watch that programme. And can I suggest that any of you who have not managed to watch it, set aside a good 3 to 4 hours in the evening, because I think it was 2 o'clock in the morning before I'd finished watching the programme. It's compelling, and I think from your...
Mr. Forrest, apologies for interrupting you. Do you have a supplementary question or a statement? Thank you.
Don't worry, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'm coming to a question. And of course, the leader wonders about relevance, and I'll come on to that as well. But I wonder whether, in thinking about the consequences of that programme, I wonder if the leader has let his thoughts go the way that perhaps mine did. Of course, what the programme demonstrates is the...
Mr. Forrest, apologies. The Constitution permits 1 minute for supplementary questions from members of the public, so I do apologise. I'm going to ask you to get to your question.
Well, I mean, all right. I shall jump right to the question to the leader, and not give you the benefit of explaining how exactly you might help in terms of saving water and preventing sewage getting into our beautiful Yarrow and Lostock rivers. But coming on to the meeting, onto the question to the council, one of the things that the government white paper on the water industry is proposing is that, amazingly, the situation now is that the utility companies are not on the statutory consultation list when a planning application is made, which to my mind gives them very much the wrong message. And the white paper does
I do apologise. You've had two and a half minutes, Mr. Forrest.
In fact, they should be statutory consultees. Now, does the leader feel that taking an advanced decision on the white paper, which is perfectly within the council's powers, to insist that any planning application results in a consultation with the utility company, North West Water, I think, in this case? Thank you.
Thank you, and apologies for cutting you off. I just want to make fair. I got cut off then. Fair for everybody. Councillor Tomlinson.
Mr. Mayor, if anybody does want to consult me with the figures,
You'll
asking for the figures that I would have given you would have reduced them.
Thank you. Councillor Tomlinson.
Can I thank, you'll forgive me if I call him Alderman Forrest, I do like to show a bit of respect for somebody who's served this council so long. So I did watch the programme, it made my blood boil, and I think anybody who's got the time should watch it. I would put it on a par with the Post Office versus Mr Bates in its commentary on so much that's gone wrong with this country over the last 50 years. It's the water industry itself is a scandal, an absolute scandal. And I take on point his comments about statutory consultee. Probably not best equipped to answer him on the night, but Councillor Alderman Forrest, if you write to me with those comments, not only will I do my best to react to them myself, I'll pass them on to my good friend and yours, our MP, Paul Foster.
Thank you. Item number 6, members' questions on notice. We have no questions on notice from any member this evening. Moving forward to item number 7. This is the Cabinet. This item is for noting. Can I please ask the Leader of the Council, Councillor Matthew Tomlinson, to present the report of Cabinet on Wednesday the 11th of February.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. It was a relatively brief Cabinet meeting. I did want to pass a couple of comments though. We had the quarterly performance report, which was extremely positive and highlighted so much of the good work that this council is doing, whilst also allowing us to shine a light on one or two areas where we need to concentrate. But it was, in the whole, an extremely positive report. We also received the Q3 revenue and capital report presented by Councillor Roberts. And I did want to comment on this because on Q3, on a budget of over £15 million, we're projecting an overspend of £10,000. Now, you know, if you're an accountant or a mathematician or a statistician, that is on budget. That is on budget. And in all the years I've been following finances of this council or another council, and I've been finance portfolio holders and opposition finance spokesperson for many, many years, that is quite remarkable. And I want to extend our thanks to the finance staff in particular for keeping such a tight rein on things, but also to everybody who works in this council for doing such a sterling job right on budget. It's quite remarkable, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Seconded.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from any members of the Council directly relating to the item? No. As this item is for noting, we do not need to take a vote. Moving forward to item number 8, the Corporate Performance and Budget Scrutiny Committee. This item is also for noting. Please can I ask the Chair, Councillor Pete Pillinger, to present the report of the Corporate Performance and Budget Scrutiny Committee from Monday the 9th of February.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'm pleased to present the report. It's as written. I don't think it needs very much adding. I would, however, say that we also noted that the congruence of budget to expenditure and income was, I think it was 0.08% variance, which is quite astounding. And we congratulated Councillor Tomlinson and the budget and Councillor Roberts for that in the committee. It may be an accident. I like to think that it's actually the work of our officers in budgeting and keeping the council on a level ship. And I'm happy to pass the report on for note.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Thank you. Are there any questions or comments from any members directly relating to the item? Nobody has indicated. Thank you. As this item is for noting, we do not need to take a vote. Moving forward to item number 9. This item is for reporting. Can I please ask the Chair of the Task Group for the Resident Engagement and Democratic Participation Scrutiny Review, Councillor Pete Pillinger, to present the report.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Living in a democracy as we do is a privilege that is not shared by much of the human race. We only have to look around at so-called democratic countries like Russia, where you don't have, if you're a member of the opposition, you end up being accidentally falling out of a tall window in a tower block. See what a privilege it is, and it's therefore quite something we need to think of carefully when we find that our customer satisfaction is low or our voting figures are low. That should worry us as a democracy. And so the task group was set up to see what we might do to raise our customer awareness of the things that the council does do, and many of the things, most of the things, we do really well. Our officers work hard with limited resources very often. And we came up with some proposals, many of which are fairly small things that can be done on a low budget. We were aware that there are two big, you could either call them risks or opportunities. One of which is the lowering of the voting age to 16, which gives us the opportunity to educate young people from 14 upwards in what it means to be a citizen of the country, and the council can spend some time in that. The second area of risk or opportunity is local government reform, and we addressed both of those. I prefer to see them as opportunities and not risks, but we do need to balance those. And those things do need us to be able to find extra resources, and one of the proposals is to ask the Cabinet to look for the possibility, when resources are offered from central government or elsewhere, to look for the resources to go beyond what we are currently able to do. And I bear tribute to our officers who deal with the things that we must legally do as a council, and then really squeeze value for money for our citizens with the things that we are not legally obliged to do, but we still do anyway. And so I present this report to the council, and if anyone has any questions, we'd be very happy to take them.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
Report, Mayor, and reserve the right to speak later.
Thank you. Questions or comments from any members of the council directly relating to the item? Councillor David Howarth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, can I first and foremost start by commending all of the people who took part in this. It's a very thorough and very detailed report, which contains a lot of excellent points in it. I've looked at all the people that were interviewed, and I have to say, as the only triple-hatted member, I'm somewhat disappointed that I wasn't invited, but I might as well blow my own trumpet because nobody else will. But there are some... the areas I would like to particularly comment on is regarding the inequity experienced by residents living in unparished areas, because for many years our group has advocated that we parish the whole of the borough, and indeed when we had our arrangement for the supply and confidence arrangement, it was one of our conditions, if you like, that we bring a paper forward to actually look at how we go about doing this. And it's something I'm still quite keen on. It doesn't affect us. We have an excellent town council, but in places like Bamber Bridge, in places like Leyland, there probably is a democratic deficit because they don't have that lower tier of local government. And also something else that I've called for recently is not establishing a parish and town council liaison committee, it's reintroducing a parish and town council liaison committee, because we've had this for a number of years, and then for some reason it just seemed to stop. I think it might have been around COVID, but it wasn't particularly useful. And I can remember the first time I attended it, I'm going back 20, I've gone how many years now. One of the first things that was discussed on the agenda was chicken poo out in the western parishes somewhere, and I thought, having been born in the centre of a city and grown up in quite an industrial area, that was quite a new area of debate for me, but apparently it was an issue back then. And in terms of the community hubs being valued as important mechanisms for local engagement, I think they would be far more useful and important if we actually had an agenda. We used to have area committees back in the day where, and I understand why those perhaps came to an end, because it meant a lot of staff support and resource going into them, but we had set agendas. In fact, at one time, it was even the area committee that decided planning applications until legislation changed. But people will come to meetings and people will come and participate if there's something to come for. I mean, we were quite fortunate when we had our first community conversation that the county council had decided 2 days ago to shut off Kingsway, and everybody was absolutely livid about it and came to our community conversation to tell us. So we had a packed hall, and that was the main topic of conversation. So with that, as I say, thank you for bringing this forward. Thank you for all of the work that the members of your panel have put in, and I do hope that your recommendations are taken on board by the Cabinet.
Thank you. Councillor Tomlinson.
Yes, thank you. Can I add my thanks to Councillor Pillinger, as someone who was interviewed by his panel. I think it's a really significant piece of work, actually. They've clearly put hours and hours into this, and I just want to assure Councillor Pillinger and his fellow task group members that the Cabinet is taking the suggestions that you're putting forward very seriously indeed. And we actually think there's a lot on there, including a parish liaison committee that we can take forward quite quickly. So thank you from the Cabinet. It's a big piece of work, but it's an important piece of work, so thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Phil Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I join my two colleagues in saying what a good report it is. I too have were not happy about being interviewed as somebody that's worked on at least 2 of these, or maybe 3 of these, since I've been a councillor, and done that type of work. They are in depth, and they do mean speaking to a lot of people and talking to a lot of other community groups and other councils to see which you would consider as best practice. Normally what has happened in this council, of course, is that we are leaders in community engagement, and best practice is seen from this council. So, and that's gone on for many years. But one interesting thing on the recommendations, it cropped up at a meeting that we attended on Friday night, which was a community group, and they came up with one of their recommendations with regard to their governance arrangements that they were putting in place, that they needed to increase the use of non-digital communication. They are missing out on huge parts of the community by just having digital, and they recognise that right away, and they're amending it, and that is the way they're going to work. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Turner.
Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think the report's very good, and it's great that we had a task group to look at engagement. One of the things, the comment I'd like to make is that obviously the report refers to low turnout in elections. And I think it would have been good if perhaps one of the recommendations could have been that we consider having proportional representation, because obviously people would feel that their vote would count more, and maybe that would encourage them to go out. Thank you.
Thank you. Nobody else is indicated to speak. I'll bring Councillor Michael Green. Thank you.
Thanks, Mayor. I'll keep my comments brief in the light of the fact that there seems to be support for this across the council chamber. Can I echo the comments that have been made by Councillor Pillinger in terms of thanking all the witnesses who gave their time and the officers that supported that review, which is it's always a big commitment to get witnesses there and for a scrutiny review to take place. But this is where scrutiny can truly add value, and it's something I firmly believe in, being that critical friend to the council and looking at how we can improve. We accept in many ways the council does a good job, but there's always ways in which we can improve, and we should look to do that. And particularly when the public were saying to us that they didn't have any confidence in their ability to influence decisions. And we need to do something about that moving forwards. And hopefully this will be the start of us moving in that right direction. There's a number of good recommendations in the report. I look forward to Cabinet considering those in the fullness of time. I think it's on your agenda for your meeting next week. And hopefully Cabinet will support this and we'll be able to see these coming forward as a council. And my closing remark is just to thank Councillor Pillinger for chairing the task group. It's been a pleasure and a privilege to take part in that cross-party for the good of the borough and the council. Thank you.
Thank you. As this item is for noting, we do not need to take a vote, but it sounds like obviously that's supported quite universally across the chamber. Moving forward to item number 10, this item is for decision. This is the Revenues Policy Review, Council Tax Discretionary Reductions Policy. Can I please ask the Deputy Leader of the Council, Councillor Aniela Bilinski-Gelder, to present the report.
Thank you, Chair. This is a really positive report. This report seeks approval to update the Council Tax Discretionary Reductions Policy to award 100% council tax reduction to eligible care leavers with effect from the 1st of April this year. This applies to care leavers aged under 25 whose care was provided previously by Lancashire County Council. The reason for this proposed change is that care leavers are recognised as a vulnerable group facing significant financial and social challenges. The current arrangements where Lancashire County Council pay the residents' council tax are complex and often cause delays, in some cases unintended enforcement action. By adopting a local discretionary reduction, we can remove these barriers entirely and provide care leavers with clear, consistent and supportive approach, ensuring they start independent life without council tax debt or administrative bureaucratic stress. So I ask the Council to approve updating the Council Tax Discretionary Reductions Policy to provide 100% reduction for eligible care leavers from the 1st of April to support the vulnerable group of council taxpayers. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded? Councillor Matthew Tomlinson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm delighted to second this. In a previous life, I was the Cabinet Member for Children at LCC, and I know the difficult journey that some young people have, especially in that 18 to 25 transitional period. Care leavers are statistically more likely to struggle when they leave care than other children might when they leave home, and anything that we can do to support them in that journey, I would urge councillors to support. We are not the corporate parents of these children, the Lancashire County Council members are, but we still have that responsibility, I believe, and we can do a little bit here to help them during that time. And I'm delighted that Councillor Bilinski-Gelder brought it forward, and I'm happy to second the report.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions from any members of the Council directly relating to the item? No? Okay, can we move to the vote, please? Thank you, that has passed. Moving forward to the last item. We've done 11 items in 45 minutes. We might be finished by 7 o'clock. You never know. This is the Revenue Budget 2026-7 Medium-Term Financial Strategy and Capital Programme for 2026 to 2029. This item is for decision. Please note this also includes appendices A to K. For transparency, checks have been undertaken and all members present are entitled to vote under Section 106 of the Local Government Finance Act 1992. Before I ask Councillor Roberts to present the report this evening, I will allow proposers only to speak for up to 10 minutes. Everybody else, the normal rules apply. Can I please ask the Cabinet Member for Finance and Assets, Councillor Wesley Roberts, to present the report?
Yeah, if I've only got 10 minutes and we'll be done by 7, yeah. Just before I start, I just want to say thank you. It's good to see Councillor Gabbett back in his place and really pleased to see him. I rose earlier, a bit annoyed, and I think sometimes, Mr Mayor, that annoyance is what leads people on the doorstep to say that we are all the same. Politicians are all the same. And you know what? I'm here to say that we are all the same and the public are right, but not for the reasons that they think. The people in this room all step forward to serve our community. Every one of us wants South Ribble, or I think every one of us wants South Ribble to be the best place it can be. And we might disagree on things at times, and we talk and we debate and we challenge each other, and then we move forward. In many ways, like one big family, and all our families are not so different from all the families across South Ribble in the borough, because we all live here. we're all part of the community, and every family has someone who needs a bit more support. And when that person needs a bit more support, we get by their side and support them and do what we can. And when I make decisions at South Ribble Borough Council, like my cabinet colleagues as well, we have everyone's family in South Ribble at the forefront of our minds, because ultimately that's who this budget is for. It's not about numbers, it's about people. You know, this budget delivers for various types of families across South Ribble, and sometimes families have to make tough decisions and families fall out and they make compromises and they try to get it right, but sometimes it's not perfect. You know, for example, last week my wife turned to me and said, "Oh, we've just had an email about the garden waste. Oh, it's gone up in price, about the subscription." I was like, "Oh, right, okay, yeah, well, we've not done a good job there about explaining it, and we should have done better, because there are certain services that by law we need to provide and some that we don't need to provide, and ultimately it falls to us as councillors to decide where money should go. You know, should we subsidise the brown bin service by £250,000 a year when 40% of households don't have one in the borough? That's a choice. Or do we invest the money elsewhere? Do we put it into things like leisure centres and housing support and tackling deprivation across the borough? And that's a choice we faced, and you know, we aren't afraid to make the right choice, even if it's unpopular. So yeah, we've raised the garden waste subscription, but I'm confident that residents are getting a good service that's value for money, and it's a fair decision. For less than £3.50 a month, households are going to receive 22 collections a year, and it means that the cost of that service will be funded from within itself in the subscriptions, and the cost won't be put onto the burden of the shoulders who don't have a bin. It just seems like common sense. I just wanted to say a quick thank you to the Liberal Democrat group, who have been a really constructive opposition group in terms of trying to enhance this proposal, and as a result of their influence, we will be writing to all pensioners in South Ribble who are eligible for pension credit and offering them a refund of £10, which reflects the increase of the garden waste subscription increase. You know, this is a good example of members working together to improve a proposal, and I'd like to thank them for that. In terms of what we're going to be doing with the money that we've been subsidising the green or brown bin service with, people are rightly asking about that, and that's fine. So I'll tell them we're going to be supporting our social prescribing service, which was not going to be funded from April, and we just couldn't let that happen because the impact on people's lives was going to be too much. We talk a lot about community spirit in this chamber, in our meetings. Well, the social prescribing service is one of the best examples this council has got, and probably across the region, of helping people improve their lives. They work to reduce loneliness, improve well-being, improve people's financial independence, and connect people with organisations that can genuinely change their lives. Without this budget being in place and funded for the few years to come, around 1,000 people wouldn't have had the support from the social prescribing service that they get on an annual basis. But now that will continue, and that matters. I'm just going to tell you about one person, and for the purpose of tonight, I'm going to call them Angel. It's not their actual name, but this was their story through the social prescribing service. Angel was initially very isolated and difficult to contact, but responded positively when approached with a personalised note from a social prescriber. Angel's main challenge was financial, with substantial debts affecting their mental health and causing further isolation. The social prescriber helped to organise payment plans, resolve incorrect charges and reinstate pension credit, improving their financial situation. With ongoing practical and social support, including outings twice a week, Angel's well-being and disposable income have increased. Angel is grateful for the support, having developed a strong and trusting relationship with the social prescribing team. For me, that service is vital to support our residents across the borough, and it gives the people the tools to improve their lives, and that's what it should be about. Sometimes it's not just putting things on a plate, it's giving the tools so then they can figure it out for themselves. And I'm really pleased to see it continue. Now, Mr. Mayor, moving on, there is the stereotype that councils are full of waste, and whilst we might collect the waste, we certainly are not wasting money, and our staff are absolutely brilliant. As of today, I found out the finance team have been nominated for an award, which is great news, and I really hope they are successful in that. when the time comes. Government funding has changed. We're losing about £500,000 next year, and that rises the year after. Business rates is the biggest threat to this council in terms of, you know, we're fine for this year, but next year there's not been any certainty around that in terms of transitional funding. So, you know, any attempt to kind of try and spend that would be irresponsible, really. And the introduction of food waste collections is going to cost us about £1 million, and the government haven't given us any money for that. And I will continue what I said to say at scrutiny, which is they should cough up, because we can't just deliver more with less. And despite all that financial backdrop, next year we're still going to have to find £1.8 million worth of savings. That's without any additional spend that might be later in the meeting. Who knows? And that's 1.8 million on top of the already £1 million that we're going to save this year from April through our Fit for the Future programme. We will continue to be a compassionate and commercially minded council, and that will generate income so that we can help people with the burden of life when it's needed. But that doesn't mean we can fix everything for everyone. Now, I'll admit something. With regards to council tax, before I was a councillor, I didn't really understand how it worked. A lot of people, and many residents I don't think do. The reality is that South Ribble Borough Council only keeps about 10% of our council tax. That's about £240 for a council taxpayer, compared to £1,800 for Lancashire County Council. So that's about 7 times more money that they get. But every year we don't put council tax up, we lose money, because the government, whatever colour, automatically thinks that we're going to put it up. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. But that said, we do, as a cabinet and administration, recognise that the cost of living has been a real squeeze on everyone, and that's why we're proposing a 1.9 council tax increase this year, which is less. No house will pay more than £10 for the South Ribble element of that. That's half the rate that the Lancashire County Council are proposing. It's one of the lowest council tax rises in terms of a district council that we are. In terms of the council tax amount, it keeps us as one of the lowest council tax in Lancashire. And at the same time, we continue to manage our finances responsibly. So let me be really clear, this council is not mismanaging any money. We're constantly innovating, constantly changing. We're going to be there for people who need us the most. And we can't fix everything for everyone, but we will never turn our backs on those who need our support and our help. And we won't turn our backs on our neighbours, and therefore we must have strong finances at the heart of this council. 1 minute's quite a thing. We're going to continue to deliver lots and lots of things because we're an ambitious council, and people travel far to see our parks. We've delivered 50 projects over since 2019, and we're going to deliver another 14 projects in the next 2 years. We're going to continue to deliver in our leisure centres where 2,000 kids swim every week. And we're going to continue to invest in housing to support the 750 people waiting on our housing list. And we've committed £1 million this year towards that. Now, I can see you're eager to get on, Mr Mayor, and I will be brief. But you're going to see some movement on the Penwithern Master Plan this year. You're going to see some movement on the Lane Town deal. And the list goes on, because whether you live in Penwithern is going to be the Penwithern Loop, or the Worden Park Fountain is going to be introduced and brought up, or it's Paradise Park, or it's Holland House play area, or it's Queensway's improvement, and there's much more things that we're going to do, because this budget is about uniting people, and it's not just about numbers, it's about people, it's about families, it's about building community where everyone can be proud of. And Mr Mayor, with that in mind and in that spirit, I'm really happy that this budget supports mine and your neighbours to invest in our borough, strengthen our communities for the future. With that, I formally propose the recommendations within this paper for approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that seconded?
I'm happy to second that, and I reserve the right to speak later.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from any members of the council directly relating to the item? Councillor Karen Walton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, for allowing me the opportunity to address the council tonight. The Conservative Group do not intend to put forward an alternative budget, as we feel this would have caused an unnecessary amount of work for our officers, but we do intend to put forward 4 amendments to the proposed budget tonight, and all members should have received a copy of the amendments for your consideration. The amendments have been carefully considered and costed with the S151 officer and can be accommodated within the 2026-27 budget, and you have got a copy for your information. I will refer to that later. Firstly, I want to thank all the officers and staff for their hard work throughout the past year on behalf of all the residents of South Ribble. We have found ourselves again in very challenging times, with residents again finding the last 12 months very difficult, many of them facing an uncertain future and struggling financially. This unfortunately will continue due to the constant increase in the cost of living, especially in energy prices, food prices and rent increases. We believe that given the ongoing financial pressures on residents, we cannot support an increase in council tax and propose a council tax freeze for 2026-27. A 1.9 increase in council tax may appear to be a small rise, but it is another increase in the cost of living for our council taxpayers, and we must try and protect and support residents again during uncertain times. Before we raise council tax, we should raise our expectations and provide value for money. A freeze in council tax would still provide reassurance and stability and demonstrate that this council understands the financial pressures households are under. We stand with council taxpayers, not against them. Many of our businesses are still struggling to maintain an existence due to the increase in energy costs and the increase in the employees' national insurance contributions imposed by the Labour government from the 1st of April 2025. This is still having a profound effect on costs, especially for small businesses, so we are proposing to an increase in the budget for support businesses to survive. There are many good assumptions contained in the budget presented tonight, and we support many of the proposals it contains. We welcome the continued support for the improvement to parks, refurbishing playgrounds, continued business support to create good employment opportunities, and the apprentice factory, supporting our ageing and vulnerable residents and the climate change agenda. Residents must have access to the most appropriate services and support when they need it most, and deserve the Council's continued commitment to improve their health and well-being in supporting sports, leisure, communities and the environment. But what gives us the greatest concern is the predicted budget deficit total of £4.421 million by 2028-29, and the challenge to find efficiency savings of over £1.77 million to produce a balanced budget next year. The challenge is the uncertainty of future funding for South Ribble Borough Council, with the serious implications of the recent so-called fair funding review of local government finances, which fundamentally penalises councils who have kept council tax law and punishes financial prudence. The Fair Funding 2 assessment has had a significant impact on South Ribble Borough Council finances, with a reduction of 5% in funding equivalent to £500,000 in 2026-27 and £900,000 in 27-28. A further financial pressure is that there will be no new funding from the government to cover the cost of £945,000 in 2026-27 in respect of the new statutory food waste collection. Cuts from government funding, not from councillors, that will impact on South Ribble's Council's future finances, and with more efficiencies, they will have to be found to minimise the impact on the services that this council provides. The level of debt that this Labour administration has led this council into by their spending spree on vanity projects and the long-term projection of external debt, as indicated on the liability benchmarking shown on page 132 of the report, shows that the council will not be debt-free until after 2073, with a capital financing requirement of over £62 million until 2028-29. This spending spree has left our residents with a borrowing debt which will take generations of council taxpayers to pay it off, placing a heavy burden on our children and our grandchildren for the future. We hear words such as requirement to be affordable, prudent, sustainable and value for money to be demonstrated. Yet this Labour administration has pushed ahead with very expensive and some loss-making projects, resulting in a significant gap between the capital funding requirements and borrowing levels in the future. In 2019, when this Labour administration took control of this council, they commissioned...
Not enough room on these desks.
yeah, we know that. They commissioned a consultation to consider the future of Worden Hall. The residents supported the refurbishment of the hall as long as it would not be a cost to the council taxpayers. The project has cost almost £3 million up to date and is an asset to the borough, but yet the income received from the hire of the hall since it opened in 2023 has produced only just over £15,000 in income from events in 2025-26. The Mackenzie Arms development in Bamber Bridge, spending over £3 million to build 15 social houses, despite outside surveyors' advice to consider more affordable and better value money alternatives, receiving just a minimal amount in rent income and with only a property value of an estimated £1 million. The Civic Centre modernisation project, including about £500,000 to complete this new purpose-built council chamber in the Civic Centre. We had a council chamber, the envy of many councils, and with the uncertainties... Sorry, do you find something funny?
Can I just ask all councillors be respectful? Thank you.
I listened to Councillor Roberts, so you can have the courtesy to listen to me. We had a council chamber, the envy of many councils, and with the uncertainties of the future of South River Borough Council, due to the push by the Labour government to reform local government as quickly as possible, this project is not only value for money and totally unnecessary. The Leyland Town Deal budget of £34 million, with only £25 million of this budget coming from the successful previous government's Town Deal grant. The Extra Care scheme now completed at West Paddock, at an estimated cost of £20 million to this council. And other councils in the region have supported and delivered similar schemes without providing this funding, and we would have delivered the scheme in a similar way so as not to burden this council with millions of pounds of debt. The administration has created a new £1 million reserve to facilitate the expansion of affordable housing across the borough from the general fund balance reserves. We do not oppose provision of the new affordable housing reserve to support families and young people access homes that they can afford to rent or to buy. But there is no clear delivery details or clear, transparent plans presenting on how this budget will be used to benefit residents. We support affordable housing, as the need for genuine, affordable homes is real and pressing across the borough, but we request that it is fully costed, affordable and a detailed housing delivery plan that is presented to Council as soon as possible to ensure that the funds are allocated against a clear, approved programme. The results of the budget consultation indicate that only 1.9% of the respondents provided positive results to the budget proposals, and that 21.2% provided negative responses. The biggest negative response was concerning the cost to residents of the proposed increase of council tax during the ongoing cost of living pressures. The budget indicates that there will be no more plans in the future to increase fees, charges and council tax to fill the increase in budget gap. There will be more plans, in future.
Councillor Walton, just to let you know, you've got just less than 1 minute left, just to let you know.
We need to focus on the basics and avoid unnecessary projects, but concentrate on supporting all residents of South River Borough Council. There are many areas we support in this budget, but we also acknowledge that there are many assumptions and uncertainties going forward in the future. The budget is being presented at a time of uncertainty for the future of local government in Lancashire. The Labour government's programme of local government reorganisation will be imposed on us across the county and will fundamentally change how services are delivered and how decisions are made in the future. We cannot agree with the amount of debt and future budget deficit due to the mismanagement of this Labour administration, which will be subjecting all our residents to in the future. So we will not be supporting the budget proposals tonight. And you have a copy of our amendments. If you want me to read them out, I will do.
No, that's not necessary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Everybody has a copy of the amendment from the Conservative group on their desk, which has been circulated. Councillor Tomlinson and Howarth, you've indicated to speak. I'm assuming you're not seconding the amendment. I'll ask if the amendment is seconded, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'm just trying to get my name on there and it wasn't there. So, yeah, I will second the proposal and I will reserve my right to speak later. Thank you.
Thank you. Just to let members know, you will have 5 minutes to speak, and once you've spoken once, you cannot speak again on the item being discussed. Obviously, we're speaking on the amendment. If the amendment passes, that's fine, but if the amendment doesn't pass, then you can still speak on the substantive. But just to make it very clear, I'll allow you to speak once on the amendment for up to 5 minutes per person. Councillor Tomlinson.
Well, thank you. I really don't know where to start, but I will start by saying that I'm old enough to remember when the Conservative Party was deemed to be the party of sound finance. And with this amendment, they show that that is not what they are. In fact, we've known for 5 to 8 years that the Conservative Party no longer believe in sound finances. I just want to refer, first of all, and then I want to come to some of the comments that Councillor Mrs Walton's just made. The very first thing they want to do is to not put council tax up. Now, that is a laudable aim. And if they'd come tonight saying, we want to do that by making some efficiencies that we hadn't spotted, or by cutting a service so the revenue budget is suppressed, then that would have been an argument we could have had. But how do they want to freeze council tax? They want to freeze council tax by taking money out of reserve that we've set up to protect this council from the uncertainties that Mrs Walton herself, Councillor Mrs Walton herself alluded to in her speech. So she says there's hard times ahead. She says it's really difficult times coming. We need to be prudent. How are we going to freeze council tax? We'll just take 200 grand from that pot there that's just sat there doing nothing. Money that we've put aside to protect this council from those turbulent times ahead. I've been tempted so many times over the years when I was the finance portfolio holder to dip my toe into that business rate reserve. But we all knew that at some stage, the favourable position we've been in on business rates was going to come to an end. And it's coming to an end. And that money that's in that reserve will protect this council as we try and find the further savings down the line that Councillor Roberts referred to. The books are balanced for next year, but the year after we have to save £1.7 million on top of the money that we say we're going to save next year. And the year after that, it's over 2 million. So those reserves that we've kept, sometimes against my wishes or my aspirations, I've kept those specifically to protect this council as we find our way through those savings. And now the Conservative group, the party of sound finance, want to spend reserves to not put council tax up. That's not how you balance the books. On the other things, I think there's some reasonable stuff in there, but again, they're just funding it by taking money out of reserves. There's no option here for the council to save money to spend it somewhere else. Not one. All these options are let's take money out of reserves. I'm not prepared to see that happen. I'm not prepared to squander the legacy that we have had. And to be fair, when Councillor Mrs Smith was the leader of this council, we may have disagreed on many things, But what we could never say as an opposition was that the finances of this council were not run well. And I'm afraid that the option being put before council tonight would see the finances of this council not being run well. I do very briefly want to come back on the comments of vanity projects. Let me tell you what the Conservative group at this council think are vanity projects. Social housing, regeneration of Leyland Town Centre, bringing Worden Hall back into use, vanity projects. Let me tell you, when I go out and talk to people, if I said to people, what do you think we do really well? Parks, and that Worden Hall's amazing. But it's a vanity project. We've heard earlier tonight, 750 people in this borough on housing waiting list. So we're building the first council houses this council's seen for a generation. What does Councillor Mrs Walton call it? A vanity project. I can't ever remember being so disappointed. I'm not angry at you, Councillor Mrs Walton. I'm disappointed in you. Because frankly, what you've just stood up and said tonight bears, it cannot be held to scrutiny, serious scrutiny. And I'm absolutely certain this amendment will be voted down, and that's exactly what it deserves to happen to it.
Thank you. Councillor David Howarth.
Yeah, thank you, Mr Mayor. There are some good aspirations, is what I will call them, in this amendment, because why would we not be against improving central parks, improving our green spaces? And why would we not be in favour of having more spids and reducing and discouraging speeding traffic? However, unfortunately, there are other parts of it that are absolutely bonkers. And the whole premise of delivering this is that you're going to drain our reserves. Now, you're either being irresponsible because you can only drain the reserves once, or you're being reckless because you think we should spend all the money before we have local government reorganisation coming in next year. So in that for that reason alone, it's an amendment we can't support. But in here, we've got proposals to build pedestrian crossings. That's not the responsibility of this council. That's the responsibility of the county council. And then the most ridiculous part of this proposal is to give businesses free car parking spaces. Well, if you give businesses free car parking spaces in the Liverpool Road District Centre, you're going to absolutely cut off their noses to spite their faces, because at the moment it's a shopper's car park. If shoppers can't park in the car park, they can't go into the shops and spend money. So if you clog up the car park with people who work in the businesses, you're completely defeating the objective of having a shopper's car park. It's not our job to provide free parking for people who work in shops or work in businesses. If you work in the centre of Preston, you don't get a free car park. So why is this deemed to be appropriate in South Ribble? We're trying to encourage people to spend locally, and yet this will completely defeat the object. So I'm sorry, I think it's irresponsible at best, and we will be voting against it.
Thank you. Councillor Matthew Farnworth.
Thanks, Mayor. And basically, I just want to say, Councillor Walton, thanks for your contribution and for your amendments. I have to say I won't be supporting them. Now, I understand you want things done for your wards and improvements, but I'd also like to point out that the budget consultation's been out for about a month now. So I just want to ask, whether anything was sort of, like the Lib Dems did, for instance, submitted in advance. Obviously, we've had things like Cabinet that have been, the budget's been there and quite a lot of opportunities to raise. I apologise for disturbing you before, but I think the assertion that the old setup in the other room was the envy of Lancashire is very debatable. Now, in terms of Worden Hall, I think the comments are quite unfair, like Councillor Tomlinson said, and I'd personally like you to invite you down to see the fantastic work that all our officers are doing to improve income and things like that. I think your proposals of a 0% rise, it's admirable, but to lambast a potential loss in next year's budget makes zero sense. So how's that being financially prudent? So like I said, I'll be voting against, and also I want to point out, as a Labour councillor, the Fair Funding Formula 2.0 is designed to give those areas who have more deprivation greater finance. I think that's fair, but we have got to deal, and we've got to be financially prudent and look at all the options that we've got and come up with a fair proposal. So I think that's what, you know, the Labour group and our finance team have got. So I'll be voting against.
Thank you. If there is anybody else wishing to speak on the amendment, please indicate now. If not, I'll bring Councillor Phil Smith. Councillor Margaret Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's just one or two comments that were made that I'd just like to comment on, if I may. The comment by Councillor Tomlinson about Leyland Town deal. I think what Councillor Walton was trying to emphasise was that we were in favour of the town deal because it came under the Conservative government. It came from the last two Conservative MPs back. It's the way that the whole system has been worked. 25 million was actually given to this council, or will be given to this council when it is finished. It's the way it has been grandiose that has actually caused us to have concerns about that. And that I'd just like to put that in perspective. The other thing was, I can't remember who mentioned it, but it was Councillor Howarth, about crossings, zebra crossings. In the budget, there is actually a zebra crossing being actually funded by this council for £78,000. So that's a contradiction in terms as far as I can see. And the other comment that was made was by Councillor Tomlinson, who talked about reserves sitting there doing nothing. And I know when you first came into power in 2019, you said that we sat on reserves and were doing nothing, and you decided it was the best thing to do was to spend them and get on with it. Now, you're shaking your head, but it's true, because I can remember it quite well. This isn't a huge amount taken out of reserves. And why shouldn't we spend a little bit of the reserves if it will do some good? That's all it's about. It's not saying let's blow the whole lot. It's just saying let's just spend a little bit and it might enhance what you are going to do. Thank you.
Councillor Tomlinson, is this a point of clarification?
It is a point of clarification, and I'm not going to get into the debate about reserves because that's just politics. But on the town deal, we were promised 25 million, and when it's finished, we will have had 25 million. But that came with significant strings attached, which meant that this council had to put some money in. It wasn't just, there's 25 million, see what you can build for 25 million. It was quite clear from the government we would only get 25 million if this council put significant resources of its own into the deal. And I'm a little bit surprised that that seems to be not common knowledge, because it really ought to be. I don't believe it's grandiose, and I'm quite confident that the scheme will be a great scheme when it's finished.
Thank you for the clarification. Is there anybody else wishing to speak on the amendment before I bring Councillor Phil Smith in? Councillor Damien Bretherton.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think we've come up with some good aspirations there, and it would be, I think it'd be beneficial to our residents if the Labour administration could consider some of these. Some of these projects that we've highlighted have actually been situations where residents have campaigned strongly over many years to get them. We refer to the old tram bridge, for example, that's been replaced. That's £6 million investment. If we could just spend some money on Central Parks to complement the new bridge that's been built. We've got a £6 million bridge there. There's going to be many, many residents from both sides of the river and the wider community will be using that bridge, and they're going to go into Central Parks. And we think it'd be a good idea if we can spend some money on just improving the areas when they come over the nice brand new bridge. We've got some investment in that area. And in terms of the safe crossings, as you know, I've brought that up a few times. And there's been many of our residents have pointed out that actually South Rugby Council is building one on Stanleyfield Lane. They're doing a safe crossing. It's not, a precedent's been set. Why can't we just give residents what they want? You know, we've got some very dangerous areas in our ward, probably in all our wards, some more dangerous than others. And a safe crossing would be a relatively small investment to take money out of the reserves, but it could save lives. You know, there's small children that cross these roads. It's not just the elderly and the vulnerable. We're talking about small children, school children. So I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for some of these projects and to take a very small amount of money from reserves to give the residents what they actually want. You know, we've had massive campaign groups for the tram bridge in that area, for the pedestrian crossing, and certainly in our ward at the Causey, it's been one of our biggest issues. This is what residents want. We've got all that money sat in reserves. We just spend a little bit of it to give the residents what they actually want. You know, it's probably on their top priority in my ward. They want us to make, they want children to be young children, small school children, they want them to be safe. The elderly in wheelchairs that are finding it difficult crossing an extremely busy main road because of the 1,000 or so houses that have been built in our ward. You know, I don't think we're asking a lot here from this, and I will be supporting this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wesley Roberts.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I rise just to, say that I really respect Councillor Breverton and a lot of his colleagues. And if this isn't just about politics and putting something on a piece of paper so there's an amendment for the budget, then, be more than happy to meet with anyone about any projects that they've got. But this isn't the way to do it, and this isn't the right time. We don't just plonk projects into a budget that haven't been worked through a business case. So any housing plans that we would have in the future, we would develop a business case and then bring it through the proper channels. Same with the Stanleyfield Lane crossing that took 14 years to develop. And yes, the community campaigned, but it went through a proper business case, it went through the community hub that was endorsed by the hub, and then the funding was found properly. And so if it is a genuine desire to want to serve the communities, which was in the spirit of my speech, I'm more than happy to speak with anyone about any of these things on this piece of paper, other than maybe number one, because that would, we can't say that we're in favour of, we're worried about the business, the gap in the budget for future years, but we want to increase it by another 200 grand because this year we'd pay from it for reserves, but then where would we pay from it next year and the year after and the year after? Number two, there's lots of lovely words about the green space, and I think even Councillor Phil Smith did mention some of these things when the park strategy was at full council recently. But again, it's lovely words, but there's no costings, there's no working through it, and yes, we can take it from the business rate equalisation reserve, but then what about when next year we're in uncertain times and we don't know where that money's coming from? So if there's a project that we can look to include or enhance the park strategy with, then we should look to do that. But the park strategy is fully funded for the next 2 years with 14 projects, and after that there's funding that we're going to have to find through SIL and Section 106 money and other money that we might put to the budgets. So if you want to get it improved in the, put it in the proper way and put into a bit of history for your local area, then let's do that. This one around the SPIDs, it's another failing of Lancashire County Council, isn't it? We all sit for our communities in here, and how many times do we talk about Lancashire County Council not doing things for our areas? And there's probably some merit in some stuff like this. And I think one of the community hubs in the Western parishes did actually have a SPID included, and funding was Councillor Smith's raising her hand, so it was 4 SPIDs. And I think the cabinet member, not sure if it was Councillor Blinsky-Geldy or Councillor Olty when she was leader, found the money for that, and we're happy to do projects like that. And maybe I'll carry on before Councillor Smith looks like angry with me. But I'm sure I thought there was some extra funding that we'd approved for the hubs for that. But so let's talk about them and the stuff around business. All right, well, what are you going to do? But Councillor House already talked about it. car parks are there for shoppers, and the only way you get shoppers is by having a turnover of cars. And to give people permits, it just operationally doesn't make sense, because the permit system is an MI permit system where you've got to put 2 red plates on. So unless you have 2 customers on a permit, it just wouldn't make sense. So, you know, I don't think it's good to spend £1 million of reserves. The council's debt, when we have any, will be serviceable, and all the funding models stack up. So the one that came with the Leyland Town deal that you were happy to have come forward to full council for transparency, it stacks up and everything pays for itself. So debt is not a bad thing. Bad debt is, but good debt, which is serviceable on our assets and adds value to our communities, is a great thing, and we should be unlocking that and delivering for our communities. So happy to chat, not the right place, really happy to vote against this amendment as well. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. I'll bring Councillor Margaret Smith in for a point of clarification. Then I'll ask Councillor Phil Smith to sum up the amendment.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. You're very kind. Just so that you're perfectly clear, we have bought 4 skids out of our hub money. All right, it does come from the council, but it is our hub money to spend. We have installed them, 1 in Leyland, 1 in... God, my brain's going. Sorry, you probably want 1 in Leyland, and I think it was very good. 1 in Longton, and there are 1 in Whitestake and 2 in New... Well, the next one is going in New Longton, and there already is 1 in New Longton. So it fully funded, costed, everything done right.
Thank you. Councillor Molyneux, you've indicated to speak. I did say after Councillor Margaret Smith, I'd bring Councillor Phil Smith in to sum up. I do apologise. Councillor Phil Smith.
Mr Mayor, not quite sure what I'm going to say after all that lot. We now, apparently, according to Councillor Roberts, we've got a government that thinks. Wow. What were they thinking about when they introduced the last budget? And what did they think? Pardon?
Thank you. Thank you. Councillor Smith.
It was Liz Truss. You'll be saying the same about Rachel when she finally disappears. Yeah, there's various things we could talk about. I'd like to talk about some of the good things. The good things with regard to the parks that have been going on. The good piece of work that quite rightly was just commented on, that I reported on at the last council meeting. It's a good document. The problem is with that document that there's virtually nothing that's funded. The first year of stuff, there's quite a lot in there. Yeah, 2 years, yes. Yeah, but it goes on till 2022 and 30.
Councillor Smith, just to clarify, you're speaking on your amendment, is that correct? Thank you.
Yeah, I'm about to say how good it is, and our amendment is exactly what should be in there. That is missing from that document. But our amendment on Central Parks is a good amendment. It's one that we were looking for a long time. It's one that we put in place in 2017, 18. It was adopted by this council, and at the time, of course, our opposition members did support it in the end, but said you will never deliver it. As it happens, an election took place, and that's exactly what happened. And it's not been delivered since. So what we would like to do, Mr Mayor, is to bring this back in line. It's a serious piece of work. And with regard to the support for businesses, I think it's any support for businesses at the moment when businesses are struggling. Businesses employ people. Businesses pay business rent. They are thriving. They make a thriving part of the community, and we cannot ignore them, and we cannot keep taxing them out of business. So that's what all I think I have to say. But with regard to the council tax, I support the reduction, the freezing council tax. The freezing council tax, the reason is, you look at the reserves we've got. Yes, they are this council's reserves, but these reserves belong to the community. They belong to the council tax that they've put in it. That belongs to them. So what I'm saying is, in a year when the people from South Ribble are struggling to pay the council tax, and we have the reserves to be able to put into it. And yes, there's work to be done in future years on on balancing the books. We acknowledge that. We spoke to the 151 officer about that, to be quite honest. And the problem is, of course, that is not for now. But maybe we'll be working on that over the next 12 months with the 151 officer. I can see him cringing over there, to be quite honest. But and then producing a proper budget, if you like, a full budget in the following year. But I can commend all these to the council, and I would like the council to give them some consideration and support them. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Okay, we'll move to the vote on the amendment. This is purely a vote on the amendment. If it passes, it will become the substantive. If it fails, we will move back to the original paper as presented. I now ask you all to indicate for, against or abstain for the amendment. Okay, that has clearly lost. We shall now move back to the substantive. Thank you. Are there any members who wish to speak? Councillor Pete Pillinger.
I rise to speak, Mr. Mayor, on behalf of the Scrutiny Committee to say that at the last scrutiny meeting, which is mentioned in item 8 on the agenda, we spent a considerable amount of time scrutinising these budget proposals. That's not to take a party political view. This is a cross-party committee, and I'm making this point particularly for those who are watching on YouTube, so that you understand that aside from the administration's work with the officers on presenting this budget, there is a considerable amount of time put into scrutinising this on a cross-party basis, and I just want people to be aware of that who are watching publicly.
Thank you. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak on the budget? Councillor David Howarth.
I hope this is the way it's going to continue, because we kick off at 8:15, so I'll keep it brief, and if everybody else would just not like to say anything, that'd be brilliant. Can I start off by... Oh dear, no. I know. I'll just start off by thanking the administration for their collaborative approach on that, on this budget, and for approaching us quite early in the process to ask what it is, if anything, we would like to see in it. Now, we are going to support the budget, even though I do have some reservations about parts of it. The green waste charge has always been a sticking point with us, but there are financial constraints which are only getting worse. And perhaps the trade-off for us was we have residents who maybe bought a very large house 40 years ago. They're asset rich, but they're liquidity poor. And they don't have lots of money to maintain gardens and to pay increasing brown bin charges. So I thank the administration for taking on board what we've said, that we are going to write to anybody on pension credit, and they will get an additional discount to help them through what is a difficult financial situation. I also have reservations about this council doing the county council's job for them, and while I appreciate that Mrs. Smith has pointed out, Councillor Mrs. Smith has pointed out that we are funding a crossing, that doesn't mean I necessarily support it, and I do think it's not appalling, but it does grate on me somewhat that we're putting millions of pounds into the Penwortham master plan because a Conservative administration at the county council just kicked the can down the road. This was supposed to be done as a part of the Penwortham bypass scheme, and the county council themselves went out to consultation on a number of plans for certainly the Liverpool Road district centre. It was that Kingsfold and Middlefirth was added to that at a later date, but it was Conservative administration just reneged on what they should have been doing, and for this council to have to step in with millions of pounds to improve the public realm is just, well, as I say, appalling probably is the word. We shouldn't be having to do it, but thankfully we are, because the residents of Penwortham deserve to have an excellent district centre, and the businesses have ploughed money into it. You won't find a more vibrant district centre than Liverpool Road in Penwortham. If a shop becomes empty, it's quickly snapped up again, and you can't say that for most places in this country. So I do have reservations about us doing the job of the County Council for them. They should be doing it. However, if that's what we have to do, that's what we have to do. And could I also commend the administration for putting money into developing a culture strategy? I think if I've achieved nothing else on the scrutiny committee, I did bring this forward, chaired an early working group on it, and the Cabinet then took it on board and progressed it from there. So if I've got no other legacy, at least we'll have a culture strategy. And then in terms of the budget itself, yes, we can fully support, well, Councillor Roberts is looking forward to seeing the Penwortham Master Plan actually carried out. So am I, and I look forward to them actually putting the dual cycle path on the right side of the road and getting the design right so we can actually progress with it. How many years has it been now? I also look forward to the Green Link Penwortham Loop. I think there's probably a bit of ambition in still maintaining in the budget the Penwortham Home to Howick link, because it will only go so far between before the Morecambe Wind Farm digs a big trench and puts a cable through it. And even if you get past that, you've then got a landowner who is not prepared to let us put a cycle path on their land. So maybe that funding could be reallocated elsewhere and put to a better use. Certainly support the investment in our other parks and open spaces, into our sports and leisure facilities. It's not that long ago that there was a threat of closing 3 of our leisure centres for some all-singing, all-dancing leisure centre in Farrington, and I haven't forgotten that, even if other people may have. But one other point that I think I probably raise every year is I do find it a bit St Mary's Penwortham churchyard repairs. Church of England, one of the richest landowners in the country, and the council taxpayers are having to fix their property for them. Bit of an anachronism that maybe somebody somewhere might at some stage want to put right. So, as I say, thank you for the collaborative approach. We will support this budget with reservations. That's it.
Thank you. Councillor Matthew Farnworth.
Thanks, Mayor. Just in light of Councillor Howarth's comments in terms of the ability to deliver a cultural strategy, I'll make sure you get a mention in the Cabinet in a couple of weeks' time. Seriously though, I think we've done quite a lot of really good things in this past year, and we've got some really good things planned for this next financial year, and I just want to give tribute to Neil and all the finance team, as well as Councillor Roberts, for delivering his first budget. It's telling that despite the financial pressures externally, we run a tight ship, and we've done for many years. And the fact we're only putting council tax up by 1.9%, which is far below the rate of inflation, is really testament to all the hard work that's gone in. I think the thing is that we deliver on most of the things that we promise. Now, I've recently been swimming at the Leyland Leisure Centre a few times in the last couple of weeks. And the contrast to a few months ago, I think the changing rooms are actually like now. You can actually get out of the pool without freezing. It's all fantastic, as well as the recent additions at Bamber Bridge, etc. We've continued to invest in our parks and open spaces, Withy Grove, Margaret Road in Middlefirth, Tidy Gate in Farrington, Lostock Hall, all delivered for our residents and all free to use. Every part of the borough, and Jubilee Gardens completed. Doesn't it look fantastic? But as we look to the future, again, I want to thank Councillor Roberts for ensuring that we keep on at our parks and open spaces strategy within the next 2 to 6 years, and that whilst we continue to provide our statutory service to a high standard, we provide our residents and thriving communities with things like social prescribing services. I also have to say, as many local authorities cannot find the money for things like culture, I'm really pleased that we're able to provide and bring forth our new cultural strategy within the next month. and that it's able to be implemented going forward right within people's doorsteps, in people's neighbourhoods, within the community. So overall, a really good budget. Again, I'm pleased that we're only putting council tax up less than the rate of inflation, simply because we have to be a financially prudent council delivering great services with just 10% of the overall council tax budget, unlike the reform-led county hall, where we're also already seeing big promises that have already been evaporated. So I think here we can all agree that we deliver it here in Safe Ribble compared to other services and compared to other organisations, and I'd really recommend approval for the budget.
Thank you. Councillor Hayden Williams.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll try and be brief and try not to ramble as I normally do. I'd like to thank Councillor Roberts for the budget that's been presented, his first budget that he's presented. What I'm really heartened to see that it's all about the people and the residents of this borough. This speech is focused on the residents and what we do for the residents, and that's what we are all here for. It's all about investment as well. We are investing in the people of this borough. We are investing in over 55 more vulnerable people in the building next door. We are investing in my ward, in Leyland, with the Leyland Town deal. This is not some grandiose project. This project will make a vast difference. One of the biggest complaints I get as a councillor is, why aren't we doing anything with Leyland Town Centre? It's a dump, it's empty, there's empty shops, there's this, that and the other. This will breathe new life into Leyland Town Centre, and it's proper investment in people that Leyland has been looking for years, and we are so lucky as a council that we are prudent and we can invest in these projects and deliver so much for the residents of this borough.
Thank you. Councillor Claire Hunter.
Can you hear me now? Right, well, I normally don't stand up, do I, in full council and say something, but I've got to say a big thank you for Wes and the financial budget tonight. So the things I'd like to point out is our continual investment in the leisure centre, which has already been said, in our parks, including Withergrove Park in my area. I did take umbrage at Mackenzie Arms because we've built 15 new homes for people in Banburbridge, for Banburbridge people. And as Councillor Bretherton said, yes, let's give the people what they want, because in Banburbridge we need 2 new zebra crossings. So are we going to supply every area? One with £1,000 people signed a petition, and another one at the top of Banburbridge with over £100, thinking of money now, thinking of your job, 100 people signing petitions. We need zebra crossings, but it's not for us to supply them all. So, as somebody else said, this is residents' money. If you look at what we're spending this on, it's residents, it's leisure centres, it's homes, it's parks, it's everything for our residents, and that's what we're spending it on. So that was very quick and done.
Thank you. Councillor Michael Green.
If I could just comment. So I've been a councillor for many, many years now, 23 I think it is. And no matter what the colour of the council has been, Conservative control, Labour control, coalition of one form or another, generally speaking, I think this council does a pretty decent job. And I think we will support a lot of the things which are in the budget as a result of that. So I'm not going to oppose it just for the sake of it being a Labour budget. And I thank Councillor Roberts for presenting it this evening and for appearing before scrutiny. And I thank the officers in particular for the work that they've done on this. There are some good things in the budget, as I said. I'm not going to list them all, but just, you know, funding for parks. I know there's funding for Paradise Park in my ward, although the funding's probably less than it was at the time when it was agreed with the developer. So there'll be less that we'll be able to do there, but hopefully we'll find some more money in the future to improve that. There's funding in there for disabled facilities, grants that's come from the Better Care Fund and so on, which I wholeheartedly support because it helps our residents to have a better quality of life. There are also some things which I do oppose in what the administration is doing. I fundamentally oppose the increase in charges on green waste collections. I think that is completely wrong at this moment in time where people are struggling. And there's been a lot of talk about pet projects. I'm not going to talk about them all, but I'm going to talk about one, and that's this council chamber. I'm sorry, but it's a nice council chamber. But should we really have been spending the best part of £500,000 1 week and almost the next week send a letter to government saying you want to abolish this council? That's what the Labour administration did, and that you'll never be forgiven for by the residents in terms of wasting public funding. But I just want to talk about some of the pressures that this council's facing. It's pressures from the government. So they are not providing the almost £1 million that will need to carry out the food waste collections. That's a pressure on us. They're reducing the revenue support grant to us from 4.8 million this year down to 3.9 million in 27-28 and then down again to 3 million in 28-29 under the so-called fair funding. The council budget papers are showing an overall reduction in government funding from 5.5 million in 26-27 down to 4.2 million 2 years later. So we're forecast to lose 2.2 million of funding, around 25% of the government funding. Is this really what you imagine the Labour government would do when all you councillors over there were campaigning to get 2 Labour MPs elected to represent the residents of South Fibble? I hope that's not what you're envisaging, but if you were, you ought to be ashamed, because that's going to affect this council, it's going to affect the services that we provide moving forwards, and it's going to affect council tax bills. Under this government, we've seen tax rises, we've seen growth destroyed, then we've seen yet more tax rises, and so it continues. Unemployment rising, particularly for young people. We have an economy that is slowing, businesses shedding jobs, households already feeling the squeeze, and that's before we consider a war which has sadly been launched this week by certain individuals, which will inevitably see fuel price increases moving forwards and significant rises in residents' energy bills. Against that backdrop, and at this time, I wholeheartedly cannot support a council tax increase. Yes, it's half the rate of inflation. Councillor Roberts ably set that out at the Scrutiny Committee. We asked him for his justification of the rate, and all he could actually give us was it's half the rate of inflation. No other justification whatsoever for that figure. Whilst you may say it's a small increase on paper, it's an additional cost to the residents of Moss Side, of Pemberton, of Samsbury, right across South Fibble, and we should do everything we can to assist them. Now is not the time to be putting additional financial burdens upon them. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Keith Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll stick to issues that we have some control over. I think there's not much we can do about national policies and rogue agents dropping bombs on other people. When I first joined this council, it was led by the Conservatives, and we worked hard, and we tried to work together with getting stuff what we did, and we shared chairmanships of hubs and neighbourhood forums and things like that, which got rid of some of the other preferred methods of meeting members of the public. But what I do remember is when we first took control in 2019, and from that day we've strived forward. I mean, there's a document on the extranet at the moment showing the amount of money that hasn't been spent on our leisure centres, millions and millions of pounds where our leisure centres were falling apart. We fixed them, we're fixing them. There's so many things we have done in the past. We are where we are now, and I think we're moving forward all the time. Watching and hearing people knowing that they're going to get fed over summer holidays. We dropped straight into COVID, and that was managed. Councillor Flannery's not here, but Councillor Flannery managed part of that with the businesses, with very, very minimal issues. Tens of millions of pounds were managed then, and managed very well, and we continue to do so. So I will support this, and it's the work of all of us together, the whole council as well, in supporting some of the things we can do together. But I think we need to strive forward with this, with how we're going, and I'd like to thank Councillor Roberts and all the members of the finance team for the work they do. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Phil Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to say an awful lot, very little on this, to be quite honest, but I'm just going to comment on something that Councillor Martin said there about leisure centres falling apart. You know why they were falling apart, as you say, or that's what you admit. It was the Labour-controlled council that actually privatised them, that put them out to Serco. It wasn't the Conservatives that did it. It was Labour that did it. And we ended up picking up the pieces. And it was difficult to pick up the pieces, I have to say, because the contracts were very, very difficult. We had a dual lease agreement, which should have been a tripart agreement. That's lots and lots of things didn't work. And it was very, very difficult to pick it up. And did we? Yeah, yes, we did. We made Serco in the end, and this council working with them, made it a lot more efficient. But was it perfect? No, which is why we needed to change it. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there anybody else wishing to speak before I bring in the seconder who's reserved? No, Councillor Tomlinson, you reserve the right to speak. Thank you.
And there's a lot I could say, but I'm very conscious of David Howarth's wishes to get home in time for kick-off. I think I've always been proud to be a member of this council, even when I wasn't privileged to be part of the ruling group. But I've never been more proud than I have in the last 6 or 7 years, when we've really grasped the nettle of running this council, and not only running it quietly, efficiently, like it used to be run, but running it in a place with ambition. Ambition for this council, ambition for our residents, and ambition for our borough. And just look at what we've delivered and what we are proposing to deliver. And by the way, I must congratulate Councillor Roberts on delivering his first budget speech with such aplomb. Just a perfect example was brought up there by Councillor Smith. He said it was difficult to work with Serco. He said it was hard to do stuff in the leisure centres, and that's why they didn't do it. We dealt with Serco. We got rid of Serco. We brought the service back in-house, and we've just spent £3.5 million making sure that our 3 leisure centres are fit for the 21st century. And that's the difference between a council who's prepared to chug along quietly without any real direction or ambition, and a council that's ambitious for its residents. This is a budget that continues to show we are ambitious, but it also shows we continue to be financially prudent. We continue to look after the council taxpayers' money in a responsible way, but whilst doing that, we get out there and we get things done. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Roberts, do you wish to add anything to sum up? No. Okay, thank you. Okay, this item, as we know, is for decision. Please also note this also includes all the appendices A to K, which are in the pack. As required by legislation, this will be a recorded vote within the minutes, but we will be using the voting system. Can we now please move to the vote? Okay, thank you. That has carried. That concludes the meeting of the Council. The next meeting will be Wednesday, the 25th of March 2026. I declare this meeting closed. Thank you.